Hello and welcome to this session in which we will discuss the educator expense deduction. When we hear the word deduction, it means it's going to give the educator some tax benefit. And who is the educator? So someone is an educator. Educator is someone that teaches. Do all teachers get this deduction? For example, I'm a college professor. Do I get this deduction? And the answer is no. This deduction is available to teachers, instructors, counselor, principals, or aides from kindergarten through grade 12. So college professors, they can't have it, who work at least 900 hours in a school year that provides elementary or secondary education as determined under state law. So who would get this deduction? For example, my cousin Emily, she used to be a teacher, a middle school teacher. And when I used to prepare her taxes, she used to get that deduction. Now she's no longer a teacher and I'm no longer preparing taxes. So what we're gonna do in this session is look at how much is the deduction, where is it deducted, and if there's any limitation, what are the limitations. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com.
Farhat Accounting Lectures is a supplemental educational tool that's going to help you with your CPA exam preparation as well as your accounting courses. My CPA material is aligned with your CPA review course such as Becker, Roger, Wiley, Gleam, Miles. My accounting courses are aligned with your accounting courses broken down by chapter and topics. My resources consist of lectures, multiple choice questions, true-false questions, as well as exercises. Go ahead, start your free trial today.
Starting with where can you take this deduction? This deduction can be claimed as an adjustment to income. So it's a deduction for AGI, which is a good deduction, which means the educator, for example, someone like my cousin Emily, don't have to itemize, don't have to prepare Schedule A in order to get this deduction. So simply put, on Form 1040, she can take this adjustment to income from Schedule 1, line 26. So she would list those deductions on Schedule 1, and this is Part 2. There's a Part 1, and part of those deductions is called educator expense. She will add up all her deductions, and on line 26, she will have a total, and let's assume the total was $300. That's the only deduction she takes. Then this $300 deduction goes to line 10, and it's a deduction for her income. So the good news is, you can deduct this $300 without itemizing. It's a deduction for AGI. Now, how much is that deduction? Well, the deduction is could be up to $300 of unreimbursed business expense. Now, if, for example, Emily and her husband, Steve, were both educators and filed jointly, they can deduct up to $600, but no more than $300 for each. So if they both have to spend the maximum amount of money. Now, Emily's husband, Steve, is an educator, but is a college professor, doesn't qualify for it. When my cousin Emily used to take this deduction, the deduction was $250. The point I am trying to make is, this $300, if you're looking at this recording in future years, it might change. It does not matter. It might be indexed for inflation, but there's a number. Now, bear in mind, for a long period of time, it was $250. So what are the qualified expenses? What can you spend money on as an educator and get that deduction? Books that are related to your field, supplies, computer equipment, other equipment, supplementary material used in the classroom, and professional development. If you take a professional development course, you can also take that deduction. Now, you have to substantiate, you have to show the proof. Make sure you keep receipts and other documentation. Why did you take the course in case of an IRS deduction? Now let's put this into perspective. We're looking at a $300 deduction. What does that mean from a tax savings? Assuming the educator in a 30% tax bracket, which I highly doubt it. 30% is a high tax bracket. I'm just putting the educator in a high tax bracket to make the point. The maximum tax benefit is $90, assuming the teachers are not in the 30% tax bracket. Most likely they are not. And if they are, well, that's good for them. Yes, but that's the point. So if we're looking at, 10 or 20% tax bracket, the tax savings even lower. Now, there are also limitations for this deduction. If you receive money from interest on U.S. savings bond that's excluded from income because it was used to pay higher education expenses, or if you receive any distribution from 529 plan that's tax-free, they were used to pay education expenses, or you used any tax-free withdrawal from your Coverdale education savings account, well, you cannot take the deduction because you're already receiving tax-free money for those courses. Simply put, you cannot double dip. You cannot get a tax-free income, use it, then get the deduction. The deduction has to be clearly out-of-pocket expense. How about if your employer reimbursed you? Now, if they reimbursed you and they put it on the W-2, they add it to your wages, you could still take the deduction because they reimburse you and you're paying taxes on it, but you can take the deduction. But if they reimburse you outside the W-2, just gave you the money, well, guess what? You can no longer, let's assume Emily spent $300. Then the school district cut her a check for $300, and that check was not included on her W-2. Then she no longer can take the $300 because she was reimbursed. She paid $300, she got $300, everything is good. She did not pay any taxes on that. But if the $300 was added to her W-2, she could still take the $300 because she paid taxes on that $300. What should you do now? Go to Farhat Lectures, look at additional MCQs, whether you are studying for your CPA exam, enrolled agent, or an accounting student. Invest in yourself. Invest in your career. Take it seriously. Accounting is worth it. Good luck. Study hard, and of course, stay safe.